Welcome back to Star Narratives, the podcast. This is accessible and relatable astrology that teaches you how to support your emotional well-being using the wisdom of the zodiac. I'm your host, Natha Perkins. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's another week. It's Natha. We are cruising through September and we're entering into a big eclipse week. And the eclipse is going to take place in the sign of Virgo and Pisces. And we're going to talk about that Virgo-Pisces axis today. We have been on a long ride of Virgo qualities and characteristics. So if you have missed any of the last few episodes, listen to those because you've heard me say Virgo, I think, is probably one of the trickiest archetypes that we all have, that we are all dealing with. And right next to that is good old Pisces. And so we're going to talk about both of those today. If you are new to this podcast, season 5 is where I go through every astrology sign and I break it down, all the different pieces of all of the psychology and the spirituality that is involved. I look at astrology as an organizing tool for our human psyche, for understanding who you are, why you do the things you do, why on earth you're here in the first place. And it's really fascinating if you are wanting to do inquiry. I ask you questions that are designed to probe into the deep, dark parts of you for you, so that you can know yourself better, your shortcomings, your trauma, the difficulties that you have experienced, and also your gifts, skills, and the things that you are here to evolve into. You can listen to any of these episodes. They are quite evergreen. At the end of every episode, I do a brief weekly forecast that just explains what is happening this week in astrology. If you like my style and you want to book a private reading, you can find me at electroastrology.com. And I am also an astrology mentor and a teacher. So if you have astrology questions, if you are a counselor, a therapist, a guide, and you want to bring astrology into your practice, or maybe you know a little bit or a lot about astrology and just want somebody other than Google to ask your questions to, come find me. So let's talk about Virgo and Pisces. So full disclosure here, I am very Piscean. I have way too many Pisces planets in my chart. And so I understand this archetype almost too well. Although one of the difficult things about Pisces is that it's very hard to understand archetype. And so we have been talking about Virgo and how Virgo is all about how we human. And it's the black and white. It's right in front of me, therefore I know it exists kind of energy. And we love Virgo. There are so many benefits to embodying that Virgo that we all have within us because it gets stuff done. We get to show up. We get to help and serve. We get to answer questions. We get to cross things off of our to-do list. We get the chores accomplished. Like, it is a very powerful energy. And it can also be a lot because when we are just in our human selves and we're doing all the things and answering all the questions and serving all of the people, it's really draining. It is almost more than many of us want to deal with on a daily basis and more than we want to handle. And so if you have a lot of Virgo in your chart, you are probably prone to overdoing it and perhaps to even having a bit of a myopic view about how life works, because Virgo is an earth sign. And the earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, are all very logical in their approach. And so these are the signs where we say the tree has green leaves. And I know that they're green because I'm looking at them. And so with earth, we can be very literal. This has to be done. This is the right way to do it. This person said this and it means that. This is my perception. And with Virgo, we're also looking at how we perceive things. It's ruled by Mercury. And we're also looking at how we take in the information and hopefully digest it, but a lot of times we don't digest it and it just kind of sits around and causes this energetic or emotional bloat that we then start to get really critical. And we can get critical with ourselves. We can certainly condemn others. There's a righteousness that goes along with Virgo. And we're going to be seeing so much of that over the next few months, especially if you're in the US and we go through election season. This Virgo virtue signaling righteousness, my way is the only way, is starting to become pretty front and center. So that's something to watch in yourself, as we've talked about over the last few weeks, that we don't want to let our Virgo energy run us. And usually when our Virgo energy is running us and we're overwhelmed, we're overburdened, we are positive that we're right, we're trying to make other people think what we think, that is a sign that our Virgo is out of balance. And when Virgo is out of balance, what do? Well, ideally, we go into Pisces, and that is true of all of the zodiac signs. Every zodiac sign has a sister or a brother or a counterbalance. And when we are too heavy on one side, we must go over into the other side and make an attempt to balance out. And that is part of what we learn as we work with astrology and we learn ourselves. All right, so when you are overdoing it on the side of Virgo and you're trying to balance it out with the energy of Pisces, what does that look like? Pisces is really hard to understand because we can't hold things in our hand and identify it when it comes to Pisces. There often isn't any obvious color or smell or logic to Piscean things. Pisces is about the imagination, the intuition. It can connect us with the ethereal realms. It can also bring us into fantasy. With Pisces, it's hard to know what's real and what is true, unlike Virgo, where we generally feel that we know what's real and what's true. But with Pisces, there is this relaxation around having to control everything because everything is out of our control. When we dip into our Piscean side, it's like we are diving into the magic. We are connecting in with higher power, with the divine, with God. We are working with the things that are outside of us, plant medicine, the crystal and rock kingdom, animal totems, the elementals, all of the things that many parts of society tell us are fake or unreal or don't work, or even that we are crazy for wanting to spend time or energy or focus on those things. And the reason I believe that there is so much teasing around the idea of woo-woo, it does connect us in with the world of what is intangible and what we are unable to prove. And that makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. I think also that there's something about learning how to work with the Piscean understanding that there is no reality and that reality as we know it is ever shifting and changing, that there are spiritual connections that are always here, even if we don't understand. It's hard to prove those things. And if you are a, quote, trust the science kind of person, what do you do when you can't prove something and you don't understand it? But on the other hand, surely we know, we have all had moments where we have felt that we are connected to something greater than us, that we have picked up a rock or a crystal and it has imparted information to us. There have been times that we have all prayed and our prayers have come true. We've witnessed miracles. We've had signs and downloads and synchronicities. And there's information and solace that comes to us from places that we know are not human. So Sagittarius is the sign that relates specifically to the religions. And those are the way that man typically has taken spirituality and tried to translate it into something that's palatable and something that works. I think generally trying to translate it into something that makes man the one that is in control. And Pisces is the spirituality that is not in our control at all. So take a deep breath and let's just sense into this dynamic field of awareness that is always with us, whether we recognize it or not. And Virgo energies very much distract us from this dynamic field of awareness because when we're busy, our minds get so connected to the task at hand that we lose touch with everything else that is here in this moment. So go ahead and close your eyes. And take some deep breaths into the center of your body. And just feel into what is going on in your nervous system. Notice what you feel in your physical body. You might feel some tingling. You might notice there is an entire ecosystem of energy that is pulsating through your body you might not have paid a single bit of attention to so far today. So pay attention to it. Become aware of the boundaries of your body, where your skin touches the air or touches your clothing. And then see whether you can become aware of your own consciousness existing outside of the boundaries of your body. See whether you can expand your consciousness into the room that you're in. And just take a minute and sit with what you are noticing. And oftentimes when I do this practice, it feels almost as if there are waves of different flavors of energy that are coming my way. Similar to swimming in the ocean, when you swim through a warm pocket of water and then you find a cold pocket, or even when you're riding your bike and you go through a little sprinkle of rain and then you bike out of that rain. So when you're sensing into the dynamic field of awareness, there's all of this information available to you, but it's all about sensing. There's nothing to prove. And if you were to sit with me in a room and do this, you and I might both feel energetic differences. We might not be experiencing the same thing. And that's one piece of Pisces that can get very confusing. It's never the same for anybody. My experience of God is probably very different from your experience of God. My experience of being connected in with the ethereal realms is probably really different than other people. When we are in this present moment, or we are sensing into this awareness, the human tasks, the human needs tend to fall away. And we're able to tune in with what's really important and with what's real and true, which is more difficult to do when we are working with Virgo. And when you have moments of silence and stillness where you are sensing into the energetic field around you, you're becoming aware of all of that extra information. The veil between the physical reality and the non-physical reality begins to part, and understandings, downloads come to you. Ways of seeing the world come to you. So you could do plant medicine journeys to get to this state, or you can do them simply by taking time to tune in to your body and to this field of awareness. The answers are all here. There's nothing to do. There are no tasks to accomplish here. And in fact, the information that comes here is not always clear. Sometimes it's simply a feeling. Sometimes it's more about relaxing of the nervous system temporarily than it is about getting answers. And the more time that you're able to spend sensing in, this is present moment work. We've been talking about this, especially through Gemini season. But this is being right here with what is. And you'll find, if you can practice this, you'll find that it is an incredible remedy for nervous system dysregulation. And it's as easy as closing your eyes and taking some deep breaths and just feeling into what is around and feeling into the textures of the energy that may be buzzing around your head, or the contraction that's going on in your solar plexus. I mean, this is very simple stuff. It is good to cultivate a practice of tuning in, especially if you are naturally very Virgo. And I think most of us are, and this is why I say Virgo and Pisces are the two most difficult archetypes, because we get busy. We want to do stuff. We want to fix stuff, cross stuff off our list, please people. And because Pisces is so uncertain and unclear, there are strong collective beliefs around if you can't see it, it's not real. And so we are not trained to be tuning in to this ethereal, pulsing energy that is always accessible and always around us. So that is your homework this week, if you choose to accept it. So spend some time tuning into these realms. And it is in these realms that you're going to find your intuition is heightened, your compassion gets really strong, your dreamy and sensitive nature is able to just be there without the human mind trying to make sense of everything. Pisces isn't the place for the human mind. Mercury does not like Pisces. Mercury wants the facts, the information, and wants to make sense of things. And so Pisces can be a little bit tricky because Pisces says there's no sense to be made. It's simply about sensing what is here. So practice this week. Practice taking time to tune in and feel. And speaking of, we can start talking about the astrology of the week. I mean, this is a week where the more that you can sense in and just be with what is, the better, because we do have a really powerful eclipse that's happening in the signs of Pisces and Virgo. So let's talk about that. All right, if you are on YouTube, you can see these charts. And if you're listening on the podcast, I will verbally walk you through it. Remember that the last few weeks have just been incredibly rough waters to navigate. I've talked to tons of you doing readings the past few weeks. I've had my own waters that I've been navigating. But suffice it to say, we are all in our very own soul strengthening journeys here. So we're coming out of Sun squaring Jupiter last week, Mars squaring the nodes this weekend, and Venus trining Jupiter, which was on Sunday. That was a really nice energy. But for the most part, this is a lot of personal work that we are all doing. So we begin on Monday with Venus in opposition to Chiron. So Venus energy right now in Libra, the sign that Venus rules, and the South Node in the sign of Libra. This is all about us continuing to evaluate our own value system. What is important? How much money do you need to make to support your lifestyle? What are the things that you spend your money on? What kind of trends do you want to follow? Who are you listening to? Who are you trying to be appealing to? Who are you attracted to? Right? It's these questions of when it comes down to your money, your looks, your love life, your sense of self-worth. These are Venus things. Venus has been making all of these contacts with all of these planetary energies. So whatever it is that's been up for you is due for some healing now, as Venus is going to oppose Chiron, although the healing probably won't just be served up to you. Probably you'll be shown a wound first. Of course, you've been seeing wounds, but look back over your last few weeks. Are they relationship issues, communication issues? Are they self-worth issues? Have you been looking at your body, at your face, wishing that it was different? Is it looking around at cultural collective desires and expectations? And are you finding that you want to continue to play whatever games you've been playing and conforming? Or are you trying to back off and become your own person? Maybe you're looking at your finances and you're saying, I have to work so much to make money and my nervous system is struggling. And do I really need that much money? What am I spending my money on? Do I still value the things that I'm spending my money on? Or maybe you're saying, I am ready to make money in a different way. I need to make money in a way that's in alignment with me. I mean, these are all Venus questions. And as Venus makes this opposition to Chiron, something is coming up to be healed. And this is energy that leads into the energy of this eclipse, which is, where are you victimized? That's what Chiron is asking us, especially Chiron in Aries. Where have you been victimized around your own identity? Where have you sold yourself out? Where have you been afraid to say no, or afraid to get angry, or afraid to advocate for yourself because you have been playing along with probably old rules, old ways of being? It reminds me of going to a high school reunion where, when in high school, it was really important that you were in with the right crowd and that you had the right clothes and you were pretty enough for the right boys, right? But fast forward 15, 20, 30 years later, you go to your high school reunion and you might find yourself automatically acting out those same themes. I want to be cool for those people. I want to look good. But then in self-reflection, you step back and you say, wait a minute, I'm a completely different person. Like, I don't really care what all of those people from 30 years ago think about me. And so this is just an analogy for the kind of work that ideally we're doing right now, is we're going back through all of our old belief systems and our old values, and we're saying, I'm going to keep that, I'm going to donate that. That leads us into this eclipse energy. So we look and we see that it's a full moon, and the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Pisces, it's at 25. So you can look at where 25 is in especially mutable signs in your own chart. That's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. The deal with eclipses in general is that a shadow becomes obvious. And in a full moon, the shadow is always on the moon. This is a lunar eclipse. And so this is about emotions. And we're looking at the Piscean emotions. So those emotions that have been hard for you to understand, that have felt mysterious. And if we look at the shadow side of Pisces, which I didn't talk much about earlier, but the shadow side of Pisces can really talk about stress and uncertainty. And it can point to the places where we are illusioned, where we have put on our rose-colored glasses, where we have refused to see the truth because it feels too scary. And so the shadow being on the moon, it gives us this directive to be looking at, once again, the places where we have brought stuff on ourselves, where some of our ways of navigating the world, putting our head in the sand, acting out our addictive tendencies, pretending that we don't see a red flag, like all of these things where we have done it. Bad things have happened to us, but essentially we have been a part of the problem. And so, of course, it's never, ever about self-blame. It's more about self-awareness and asking ourselves the question, do I want to keep playing out these old habits where I'm responsible for my own undoing? And I think this eclipse is going to help all of us clear away some of those parts of ourselves that have been too scared to really deal with reality. And this brings in a beautiful ability with all this Virgo energy to just see things through the lens of reality. Because this is also talking about spiritual gifts that are coming in. We see that Neptune is conjunct the moon here. And so this is the opening of more of an ability to tune into the ethereal realms and the energy of all that is. So all of you that I've been talking to in readings, you guys are all noticing that your psychic sensitivities are getting stronger. So pay attention. Where are your sensitivities getting stronger? Is it a knowing? Is it being able to calm your own nervous system because you're developing a trust in being held by the universal energy? And maybe you're just getting a different version of information than you ever have. This is a potent eclipse for all of that stuff that's coming in. So pay attention. Remember that eclipses are often a time of doors opening and closing as well. And the idea is to allow whatever is leaving to leave and allow whatever is supposed to come in with trying to be less controlling about it, trying to trust that everything is in perfect alignment and that your higher self and the universe and God have your back. On the 18th, we see that the planet Mercury is opposing Saturn, continuing to have mind control, right? We talked about that all through Gemini, the importance of having a handle on your own mind. Because if you can't control your own thoughts to some extent, you are being tossed around by all of the information, everybody else's opinions, even your own perceptions. And perceptions are questionable. Perceptions are things that shift and change depending on what your blood sugar is doing, what day of your cycle you're on if you're a female. So this is a reminder that you don't want to let your mind get the best of you, tell you stories, and pull you out of alignment. The sun gets really busy over the next few days. The sun at 27 makes a trine to Uranus, and then on the 21st, the sun makes a trine to Pluto. So technically, this is a grand Earth trine. This is nice energy. It's good to see this because the sun being who you are and being that authentic sense of self that you're always trying to figure out and get into, making this positive aspect with these two planets. These are deep planets. These are planets of the collective. This is you getting more comfortable with dealing with collective energy. And what we're seeing and what we've seen over these past handful of years is that the collective is really impactful. we're more in touch with the collective now than we've ever been through things like social media, but also through that collective consciousness. The more intuitive and sensitive you become, the more connected to the collective consciousness you are. And when we have outside forces like media and people that want to sell you things, et cetera, all of the bigs, big media, big pharmacy, big government, et cetera, when we have those bigs all really vying to control our attention and get us to look where they want us to look and agree with what they want us to agree with, it's really important that we're learning how to navigate our role in the collective consciousness. And with the sun here, it's saying you are allowed to be who you are. You are allowed to have your experience and to bring your own unique gifts to the table. We don't all have to homogenize and become robotic to whatever the special of the week is. Who do we hate now? Who are we at war with now? Who are we taking care of now? What celebrity are we worshiping now? We're working hard to hold our own autonomy through all of this. And that looks like being able to understand the collective consciousness, join into collective consciousness where we feel that it actually really supports us, and then pull away from collective consciousness when we feel that we need to revolutionize something or we need to be autonomous and independent. On the 21st, Mars is also in an opposition to Ceres, and that is all about that body, right? So keep tuning into your physical body, using your physical body as a tool for more deeply understanding, especially the things that feel emotionally charged for you this week. And then on the 22nd, bam, the sun enters Libra. So next week, I'm going to be talking about the transition from Virgo into Libra, but the sun enters Libra and Venus makes a square to Pluto. Okay, this is rough energy. This is like the pieces are shifting. We are on a fault line. We are each on our own personal fault lines, and we're trying to maintain our stability and our balance. And it's going to take a little bit of work. But just like with anything, if you have your core strength goes a long way in stabilizing you. We've all been working on our core strength for the last few years. And we've been going through all of these zodiac signs, determining the sense of core strength that is available in each of these signs. At this point, you guys have plenty of tools, not to mention everything that you have learned outside of astrology. But this is the time to really tighten that core. Get used to moving with the movement, relaxing into all of the ever shifting and changing pieces and parts. Because again, we are on the verge of massive transformation. And all we can do is go with the flow and try to maintain as much of our stability, our consciousness, and our well-being through it. All right, I hope this was helpful. I will see you all next week. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have enjoyed what you have heard, like, subscribe, leave a message, leave a review. You can find me on Instagram at Electra_astrology or on my website at electraastrology.com.